I had reached the end of my patience. I left work that day and went straight home. And my mother-in-law was waiting for me in front of the house with a grin on her face. "What's going on, Mother?"
"Oh, did your boss want to talk to you? Did you understand what would happen if you challenged me?"
"Yes, I understand perfectly well that you are a very bad-natured bitch."
"How dare you talk to your mother-in-law like that? You really have no idea about anything. I won't forgive you this time. Divorce my son right now and get out."
"Okay, I'll get a divorce." I said that and headed for the city office. My name is Jane. I'm a 30-year-old office worker. I got married just 3 months ago to a man named Tom. I met my husband a long time ago. We were colleagues at the same company. I had a hard time getting used to my job and had no romantic feelings for him, so we were really just colleagues. Then my husband was assigned to a different department and we saw each other less and less at work. But a year ago, there was a project that involved several departments. My husband and I were assigned to that team. It had been a while since I had seen him, and he looked more handsome and he managed his job really well. I was attracted by this side of him. The project was a success, and we started to go out for drinks and became closer after that. After 6 months of dating, he proposed to me and we got married. Since we had enjoyed spending time together while we dated, I thought that our married life would also go well. But as soon as we got married, problems arose. It was because of my mother-in-law. She had never shown any signs before we were married, but as soon as we got married, she started coming over to our house almost every day. It's true that my parents-in-law's house is close to ours. But it really bothers me that she comes every day. Moreover, my mother-in-law does not come here to see my husband, her son, but just to bully me. My husband's department is busier than mine, and he comes home about 3 hours later than I do. So I come home before and prepare dinner. My mother-in-law always comes at that time of the day.
"Jane, I'm tired of waiting. Let me in already."
"What are you cooking today?"
"Let me see your shopping bags."
Wait! My mother-in-law puts the ingredients I bought on the table one after another. "What are you doing?"
"What are you going to make today?"
I was thinking of making risotto, Tom's favorite dish.
"Risotto? You're making him eat a one-dish meal like that?"
What? Is there something wrong with that?
"You should make him more dishes, like grilled vegetables, seared salmon, or a salad. Make lots of side dishes like that."
I make more dishes when I can, but I was a little busy at work today.
"I don't need that excuse. First of all, it's not right that you're still working after marriage."
Do you really think that nowadays?
Huh? Are you trying to challenge me? You're such a smartass. I'm going to fix up your attitude.
My mother-in-law would retort 10 times more if I tried to talk back to her in any way. And after throwing unreasonable and terrible abusive language on me, she leaves just in time.
"Oh, Tom will be back soon. I'll be back tomorrow."
Then mother-in-law leaves the house with a smirk on her face. What a joke. Why should I come home after a long day at work to meet a mean mother-in-law? But my mother-in-law came the next day and the day after that, just as she had declared. I was afraid that if I didn't do something, she would really come over every day. I decided to work late so that I can go home with my husband. Unfortunately, my department had just finished its busy season and there was not much work left to do. Therefore, my boss told me everyone should leave on time as much as possible, and I was not allowed to work overtime. So I decided to kill time at a cafe. However, after a few days of doing this, I realized that the cost of a coffee would add up a lot if I continued this every day. Besides, it would not make me or my husband happy if I had to spend more money and come home late and prepare dinner. And aside from that, why should I be the one who has to avoid my place? One day, I decided to come home on time with the intention of making it clear to her. Sure enough, there was my mother-in-law in front of my house.
I guess you finally gave up. You intentionally came home late so you wouldn't see me. It doesn't matter what you try. I'll be here again and again. Give up and take the beating.
She's a mother-in-law who openly declares herself a wife beater. She's a crazy person all the way. And then, as if it were a matter of course, she checked inside a shopping bag and complained. After that, she starts complaining about me.
How many times have I told you that it's not right for a wife to keep her job? That's why you can't have kids.
Isn't that none of your business?
What are you talking about? You can't get pregnant because you're stressed at work. Besides, there's such a thing as fertility activity, right? And you know, some people even take time off work for that.
With all due respect, if I can't get pregnant because of stress, then my stress is not from work, but from you.
What?
You come to my house every day and beat me up like this. You are causing me a lot of stress daily.
Huh, you're a really cheeky woman to say such a thing. It must be because the work is not doing any good to you. I'll have to make you quit.
What are you talking about? What right do you have to make me quit my job?
You see, I'll show you what happens when you make me angry.
With that, my mother-in-law left. I thought she was bluffing, but she really meant it. One day, my boss called me in. Jane, is it true that you want to quit your job? Excuse me? Your mother-in-law talked to me about it just now. She said that the stress at work was too much for you and you wanted to quit. But apparently you can't quit because you can't talk to anyone about it. No, that's not true. I love this job. I don't want to quit. Really? If you're having trouble, you can talk to me about it, okay? No, it's really okay, thank you. I had reached the end of my patience. I left work that day and went straight home. And my mother-in-law was waiting for me in front of the house with a grin on her face. What's going on, Mother?
Oh, did your boss want to talk to you? Did you understand what would happen if you challenged me?
Yes, I understand perfectly well that you are a very bad-natured bitch.
How dare you talk to your mother-in-law like that? You really have no idea about anything. I won't forgive you this time. Divorce my son right now and get out.
Okay, I'll get a divorce. With that, I went to the city office to pick up the divorce papers. Then I called my husband to meet me at a cafe to discuss an important matter. About an hour later, my husband rushed to the coffee shop after work. I explained the whole story. As a matter of fact, I had recorded many of my mother-in-law's mean comments. So when my husband heard the audio, he immediately trusted me. Seriously? Mom? My husband and I went to the city office immediately after that and filed for divorce. Then we went to my parents-in-law's house.
What's wrong with you and Jane?
Let me come in. My husband and I went into my parents-in-law's house and to the living room. What's the matter, Tom? I have something important to tell you. What about? We just filed for divorce. What?
Oh my God!
My father-in-law looked at my husband in surprise. But my mother-in-law glanced at me and grinned. What the hell happened? I can't believe you're suddenly divorced.
Well, calm down, George. There must have been some kind of rift that only couples can understand. Tom and his wife are not children, so let's respect their decision.
My mother-in-law said that with a relaxed expression on her face. But my husband's words made her face turn pale at once afterward. I said we filed for divorce, but we got remarried again right away. I decided to take the last name of Smith, which is Jane's last name.
Oh, what do you mean?
I think you know the reason for that best. What do you mean? She's been harassing Jane ever since we got married.
What are you talking about? Where is the proof?
Here it is. I pulled out my voice recorder and showed it to them.
No way! You were recording with that?
You look so upset all of a sudden, Mother. Hey, what are you talking about? My husband took the voice recorder from me and played the audio. My father-in-law's face turned red as soon as he heard it. What the hell are you doing? What a bitch you are!
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to share your last name with you anymore, Mother. Dad, I'm sorry that I had to do it this way. Well, what can you do? I'll do the same thing if I were you. I don't want to see you anymore, Mother, so I'm cutting you out of my life.
No, don't cut me off. Forgive me.
I'm sorry, but I can't forgive someone who caused pain to the one I care about. Jane, let's go. Okay. My husband took me by the hand, and we left my parents-in-law's house. By the way, the reason we were able to remarry right after filing for divorce was because we were married to each other before. It takes about 6 months to remarry a different person. We remarried immediately because we were told that it was possible with that same person. We then moved out and started living in an apartment close to work. My mother-in-law was not allowed to see her son anymore because my father-in-law had made it a condition that if she ever appeared in front of us again, he would divorce her immediately. My mother-in-law has been a stay-at-home mom all her life, so she would have to obey my father-in-law because she can't divorce and live on her own. She really deserves it. I got pregnant a year later, free from the stress of my mother-in-law. Perhaps my mother-in-law was really the reason I couldn't have children after all. After the baby was born, my husband and I only saw my father-in-law with a child. I don't plan on seeing my mother-in-law for the rest of my life. My father-in-law seemed very happy to be able to hold his grandchild. My husband and I will continue to support each other and watch our child grow up together. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like. See you in the next video. Then my mother-in-law made me cook while I was at the point of extreme exhaustion. The smell of the food was too much for my pregnant body, and I rushed to the bathroom. I threw up in the toilet, but because I hadn't eaten anything since my mother-in-law had been making me work hard, there was only liquid in my stomach. I felt I was in danger from the very first day.
Hey Lisa, how long are you going to stay in the bathroom? Come out and cook.
I'm sorry.
Young people these days really don't have any patience.
I don't think the difficulty of pregnancy is something that can be dealt with patience.
How dare you talk back to me? Don't be so proud because you're pregnant. You are so cheeky. I'll knock your rotten guts out.
My name is Lisa, and I'm a 27-year-old office worker. My husband Ken and I have been married for 2 years. We both work, but we live together supporting each other. Then something wonderful happened. I found out that I was pregnant. My husband and I were overjoyed. We were looking forward to the birth of our new family member. And I took maternity leave when I found out I was pregnant. And before I knew it, I was in the last month of pregnancy, and the baby could be born at any moment. Since we were expecting twins, we had to switch from a general hospital to a private hospital that could handle emergency surgeries. It was getting difficult for me to handle my daily life on my own. So my husband suggested that I temporarily live with my parents. My father died when I was a child, and my mother is the only one at home. My husband and my mother have a good relationship, and I'm used to living at her house. It would be the most stress-free place for me. So I have been living with my mother for a few months now. The hospital where I'm going to have my baby is closer to my mother's house too. It's been very comfortable there. But at the critical moment before the birth, I had to face a terrible disaster. It was my mother-in-law. My first impression of my mother-in-law was not bad. She was kind to me when we first greeted each other. She spoke to me openly at family gatherings. But one thing led to another, and I began to see her for what she really was. Why was my mother-in-law involved here? Well, I had to ask her for a favor. My husband is a special design engineer. Just the other day, there was a problem with a local client that he's in charge of. It was something that only my husband could confirm, so he had to go to the client and check the matter himself. And at the same time, my mother had appendicitis and had to be hospitalized for a few days. My husband was worried about me being alone. So he suggested that my mother-in-law stay with me to take care of me. I still had a good impression of my mother-in-law at that time, so I agreed that it would be great if she could come. My mother-in-law agreed, and I thought I could rest easy. But the moment she arrived at my house, she started to go wild.
Oh my God, your house is such a mess. Do you and your mother clean the house?
She was rude out of the blue, and she even insulted my mother. I had the impression that my mother-in-law was a kind person, so I was taken aback. Mother, thank you for agreeing to take care of me for the next few days.
Oh, you must have misunderstood something.
What?
I'm only here to call an ambulance right away in case you get sick. You have to take care of the housework yourself.
Oh.
Don't try to take advantage of me just because you're pregnant. I'll teach you how to clean your house. Come on, get ready.
I had no choice but to obey my mother-in-law. She made me walk around inside the house, and I was forced to clean up every corner. Then my mother-in-law made me cook while I was at the point of extreme exhaustion. The smell of the food was too much for my pregnant body. I rushed to the bathroom. I threw up in the toilet, but because I hadn't eaten anything since my mother-in-law had been making me work hard, there was only liquid in my stomach. I felt I was in danger from the very first day.
Hey Lisa, how long are you going to stay in the bathroom? Come out and cook.
I'm sorry.
Young people these days really don't have any patience.
I don't think the difficulty of pregnancy is something that can be dealt with patience.
How dare you talk back to me? Don't be so proud because you're pregnant. You're so cheeky. I'll knock your rotten guts out. Tomorrow we'll do a more thorough cleaning. We'll clean the yard and we'll get rid of the weeds.
But I don't think I can pull weeds. I'm in my last month of pregnancy.
Don't be so lazy. You need to strengthen your legs. You've been spoiled. You've been living a lazy life. You can't raise a child like that.
But the doctor told me to rest as long as I could.
I know what I'm talking about. I've given birth to my son and my daughter. Listen to me instead of that nonsense doctor. You can go to sleep today. But from tomorrow on, I'll be more strict, so be prepared.
My mother-in-law is grinning as she says this. She doesn't want to teach me. She's just enjoying giving me orders and abusing me. I thought that if I continued to listen to her, I might have a miscarriage, so I tried to resist as much as I could. That's enough. Of course it's right to listen to what the doctor says. What you're doing is just bullying your daughter-in-law.
How dare you? I knew I couldn't trust you after all.
What do you mean?
I'm saying I can't trust a child from a single mother. They don't get a good education from their mothers. That's why I didn't want my son to marry you.
I see. That's what you were really thinking.
Yes, that's right. But you can at least give me grandchildren. As soon as you give me grandchildren, I'm done with you.
What do you mean you're done?
Well, A separation and a divorce would be ideal. My son and grandchildren can come back to our house.
I understand your point.
At best, I'll support you until the birth.
No, I've had enough.
What are you talking about? Without me, the babies will be in danger. Don't be selfish and do as I say.
Then my husband came home just in time. Hey, Mom, what's going on?
What? What do you mean? Why are you home? Didn't you go on a business trip?
Luckily, there was no problem, and I could make it home in time today, so I came back. Then I got a message from Lisa asking me for help. I called her and asked her to stay on the line.
So our conversation so far?
Oh yeah, I heard everything. Mom, what kind of danger are you putting my pregnant wife in?
Well, when I was pregnant...
Medicine is much more advanced than it used to be. Of course, the doctor is right. Besides, Lisa is having twins. She's going to have to be more careful than a regular pregnancy. If anything happens to the babies, it's your fault.
Oh no!
Besides, you made fun of Lisa's mother for being a single mother. I didn't know you were like that. You only judge things on the surface.
Well, it's the truth, isn't it? I don't trust single parents. I'm sure their kids don't have a good upbringing anyway.
So that means I and all the other people who work for her mother aren't good people either.
What?
I told you that my mother is a business owner when we met with each other's families.
I thought that was just some bar or something like that. I thought she was just trying to sound cool.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know you had such a prejudice. I thought you were a bit more flexible in your thinking. Lisa's mom is the president of the company I work for. She was recently featured in a business magazine. It was originally her husband's company, but after he passed away, she took over the company. She's been running the company for over 20 years.
Well, I didn't know that.
If you had known, you had changed your attitude? That's bullshit. I hate people who change their attitude depending on the status of the other person. Basically, you've been making fun of Lisa and my mother-in-law all along, right? I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Besides, you put my babies in danger too. I'm cutting ties with you, Mom.
You can't do that?
Don't ever show your face in front of us again.
Wait. I apologize, so please forgive me.
No, I won't forgive you. What you said to Lisa was terrible. I will never be able to forgive you. I'll tell Dad and my sister about this.
Oh no!
Now, if you hurt me, get the hell out of here. My mother-in-law's face was pale, and my husband forced her to leave. I'm really glad he came back soon. If he had left me alone with my mother-in-law, I don't know what would have happened after tomorrow. After that, my mother-in-law went back to my parents-in-law's house. But my husband had told my father-in-law all about it, so my mother-in-law was not allowed in the house. And then my mother-in-law asked my sister-in-law for help. But my husband had also told this to my sister-in-law, so my sister-in-law also refused to help her. My sister-in-law has some problems with her mother-in-law, although not as bad as me, so she could not tolerate her own mother bullying me. My mother-in-law was abandoned by everyone in the family. She went to her father-in-law again and cried and pleaded with him. My father-in-law made her promise to never bully me again. And as my husband told her, never to get involved with us again. She was able to come back to the house then. He also told her that if she broke even the slightest promise, he would divorce her immediately. In addition, as punishment for what she did, he also ordered her to help him with his brother's farm for 3 months. My mother-in-law was forced to work in the heat of summer, reaching the limit of her physical strength. She really deserves it. Meanwhile, I gave birth to healthy twins. My mother was also discharged from the hospital and is happy to hold her grandchildren in her arms. My husband suggested that I stay with my parents for a while until I get used to being a new mother. My husband and my mother both support me to raise the babies and do the housework. We have a strong sense of unity as a family, and we care for each other a lot. So we are able to live together in peace and tranquility. By the way, my husband's family members all come to visit us, except my mother-in-law. They're very happy to see our children. I hope to continue to live happily with all my family. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like. See you in the next video. I confronted my husband with the evidence from the detective agency. He admitted, "Right, we're having an affair. And I'm crazy about her. I'm going to be with her. And you're going to leave." Are you sure about that? I don't care what will happen. My name is Amy. I'm a 37-year-old office worker. I live with my husband, Ted, and our 5-year-old daughter, Katie. We're pretty close and make up for each other's deficiencies, and for the time being, we're happy as a family. My husband is a good cook and always makes dinner for us. I work a lot of overtime and come home late, so I'm grateful that my husband is able to take care of the housework. Then one day, my husband unexpectedly injured his ligament. The cause of the injury was that he was playing basketball for the first time in a while when he went out with his friends on a day off and forced himself to shoot the ball. My husband is 5 years younger than me, but he's already 32 years old. No matter how much he used to be a good basketball player, he had hardly done any exercise since he started working. Why would he do something reckless like this without thinking about it? He has a job and a kid, and he's not careful at all. When we were dating, his recklessness felt new and fresh to me. But now, it just plays as a negative factor. In fact, my husband has been hospitalized as a result of this injury, which means that he has to take time off work. And I would have to take care of the housework and the child. On top of that, he got hurt playing basketball on his day off. It wasn't even in a basketball court. His injury happened at a facility for various sports and games. The company would be appalled to find out about it. They might even fire him in the worst-case scenario. My husband is just too stupid and lame. This time, I was really angry with him. I was disillusioned by it. I've said it many times, but he has no responsibility as an adult. According to the doctor's diagnosis, he needs to stay in the hospital for about 2 weeks. I brought him a change of clothes, a phone charger, and the basic necessities.
Oh, thank you, Amy.
I was disgusted by my husband's reaction alone. Why are you so cheerful? Normally, you would be more depressed. Well, what can I do? I didn't mean to get hurt. Besides, I'll use my paid vacation days, so it'll be okay. What do you mean it'll be okay? If it wasn't for your injury, you could have used your paid time off more effectively, like for a daughter's kindergarten event or a family trip. That's what the paid vacation days are for. Besides, since you can't come to work, your co-workers and bosses are going to have to take on more work. As for our daughter, I'm glad my mom agreed to come home and take care of her this time. But if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to work overtime at all, and I would have troubled people at my work. You should be aware of the problems you're causing to everyone. I guess I was really angry after all. These complaints came out so easily from my mouth. My husband seemed to feel bad about it and said, "I'm sorry." Well, maybe I went a little overboard myself. At any rate, get better as soon as you can. I said that and I left the hospital room. With or without my husband, my work is very busy. So I was going to ask my mother to take care of my daughter a little longer, but when my boss and co-workers found out my husband was in the hospital, they told me I didn't have to work overtime. Thanks to them, I was able to leave work on time. I could come home early, cook dinner, and have time to eat dinner with my daughter. I didn't have to rely on my mother too much either, so I really appreciate the kindness of the people at work. About a week after my husband was hospitalized, I met up with my mother and daughter after work and went to visit my husband. When we arrived at his hospital room, I heard him laughing happily and the woman's voice.
"Oh my God, Ted!"
Who could it be? I wonder if she was my husband's colleague or junior colleague at work. When we entered the hospital room, there was a nurse there. She looked young, maybe in her early 20s, slim and quite beautiful.
"Oh, there's your wife and your lovely daughter. Well, I'll leave you all."
The nurse said hello, gave us a quick bow, and left the room. While I'm busy with everything, you're chatting with a beautiful nurse so carelessly? My husband must have noticed my cold stare, because he clearly seemed nervous. Hey, thank you all for coming. But thanks to my daughter, my husband didn't have to be scolded by me.
"Hey, Dad!"
My daughter was hugging him, looking very happy to see him for the first time in a week. Katie, I missed you so much.
"Is your leg okay?"
Now that you're here, Katie, it's going to be fine.
"So you'll be home soon?"
Yes, I will.
Yay!
Yay! Since my daughter seemed to be happy, I decided to leave the scolding to my husband. After our visit, my mother blurted out to me, "That young nurse was calling his name in such a friendly way." That's right. Now that she reminded me, it sounded even intimate. But I could not imagine that my husband would have the nerves to do anything with a beautiful young nurse. Well, I mean, she wouldn't even care about him. But it sure wasn't completely out of the question. They say nurses don't get to meet many men. Maybe she's quite a predator. And finally, 2 weeks after my husband's injury, he was discharged from the hospital. On the day he was discharged, I went to his hospital room, and he was talking happily with that beautiful nurse again. And in the car on the way home, he looked so bored. I would think that he would be happy to get out of the hospital. I thought this was suspicious. So I decided to hire a detective agency to look into it. The evidence of the affair between my husband and the beautiful nurse came out immediately. After he was discharged from the hospital, he went to the hospital after work because he had to go to rehabilitation. But in fact, that was not the case. His leg was already healed, so he lied about the rehabilitation and went to the nurse's house. I couldn't believe it. How on the earth would my husband have an affair with that beautiful nurse? Do beautiful nurses have a weird taste? I confronted my husband with the evidence from the detective agency. And he said, "Yes, I'm having an affair. I'm crazy about her. I'm going to be with her. And you're going to leave. I really don't care what will happen. I don't care what happens. I'm in love with her." Okay, do what you want. This is ridiculous. I packed my bags, took my daughter, and went home to my parents. When I explained to my mother what had happened, she was furious. I knew it was suspicious. You're very sharp, Mother. After that, I divorced my husband through a lawyer. I demanded alimony and my share of the property. We had a bit of dispute over the property division, but I managed to get what I wanted and received the money I deserved. With this, I thought I was completely disconnected from my husband and I could start a new life with my daughter. However, as my new life started, I received a number of calls from an unknown number. At first, I ignored the calls, but they were so persistent that I decided to answer. Hello? Finally, she picks up. Hey you, what's going on? Well, who is this? I'm Anna, Ted's new wife. Oh, the adulterous partner. Well, so I'm the wife. What the hell do you want? You demanded an unbelievable amount of alimony and property division from my husband. No, I had a lawyer come up with a fair amount. Then why does he have to sell the house to pay for it? That's because his salary is low. Huh? How can it be low if he works for a foreign invested company? Huh? What are you talking about? I'm the one working for a foreign invested company, not him. What do you mean? I'm sure my husband lied to you to look good. Because I complain to him sometimes about the nature of my job and the problems I've been having. So I'm sure he was able to incorporate this into his conversations with you. My husband is a regular employee of a small company. His salary is quite low, about half of what I make. Oh no, that's a scam. I approached him because he said he worked for a foreign invested company and owned the house in his name. The house is in our joint name, and by the way, I made a down payment. So if my husband continues to live in that house after the divorce, he'll have to pay me half of the house's appraised value. Oh no! He's not handsome and doesn't even have the money. There's nothing attractive about him. Well, I guess not attractive enough to have an affair with. He was a good dad, though.
I don't care if he's good with kids. I got cheated on.
I'm sorry to hear that. But you better pay your alimony too. Otherwise, I'll go right out. After that, I got a call from my ex-husband protesting. Apparently, he was dumped by his adulterous partner. Just before they were about to get married, she ran away. But he was the one who tried to seduce a beautiful nurse by lying to her and trying to look good to begin with, so it's his fault. I told him that if he has a problem, try to earn as much as I do first. Then I hung up the phone. Since then, I see my ex-husband only when my daughter wants to see him. He whines every time he sees me. I heard that his injury from playing caused a lot of trouble for people at his work. His boss hates him for that, and he's never going to get promoted in the future. He really deserves it. I, on the other hand, am back at home and working hard, while my parents support me in raising my child. This allows me to have money from my daughter's education, and I'm able to take weekend trips with my family. I was worried that the divorce might have a negative impact on my daughter, but she still smiles sweetly as ever. I will continue to work hard to keep her smile. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like. See you in the next video.